Good evening. Welcome to a special matchday edition of the Game Line here on Wales Online. Wales have lost to England then at Twickenham, so where did it all go wrong? Here to pick it through the bones of it all, Ben James and Andy Howell after a disappointing 33-30 defeat. Andy, where did it go wrong?
Well, first of all, it was a valiant performance by Wales, how they came back. You know, they was sort of out of it, second half, fought their way back. But it went wrong because they conceded some soft tries in the first half. When I say soft tries, some really clinical, good finishing from England, but some of the defence was a bit soft, really, around the line out. And what England showed as well is they were not suffering from white line fever, that they created space and then they utilised it with fast hands, and Tialagi and Elliot Daly just had Watkins. That's the way to finish. You know, it's like the All Blacks finishing. So England were good, and with England, of course, as well as that escape card of the scrum, the Welsh scrum was in major trouble during the first half whenever England wanted to turn on a power at the scrum. So they would get, they would either being able to, if they were under pressure from Wales, they would shove at the scrum, get a penalty to clear, or they would use that penalties from scrums to get into a good position. First half was really scrappy. Loads of kicking and low quality play, really. But the game was sort of lost then, and then Wales had to come back a bit just after half time. But then England sort of saw them off, and then the finish. It was one of those things. Wales were playing catch up rugby, 6 cards, yellow cards, red cards, and the scoreline is actually a lot closer than perhaps it should have been.
Yeah, it was a strange second half, wasn't it? Wales had a lot of territory. They were camped in that England 22 for a long period of time, but the points didn't come quick enough. Maybe the yellow cards didn't come quick enough from the referee.
Like, I know Eddie Jones isn't happy with Ben O'Keefe, but I think there's a lot of Welshmen tonight who aren't happy with Ben O'Keefe. But you can't point to that, really. But yes, that whole sort of that last, I think it was 10-12 minutes, I think about the 68th minute Wales got into the 22, and then they didn't score till the 78th minute through Dan Biggar. And it's a bit of a trend that we've seen throughout the Six Nations, is that their game management in these sort of situations just hasn't been good enough. Obviously, against Ireland, they had the period of play leading up to the Hadley Parks non-try. Against France, they had 2 sort of periods, one before half-time and then one about the 60th minute. And they're just not coming away. And I think the game plan today, it's obviously hard, England to have such a powerful game. You knew that England could take this away from us at any second just by stepping on the power, because few test teams could live with the power that England are playing with. So I think the game plan today was to try tire England out and capitalise on that last sort of quarter when maybe the legs were slightly fresher, and England made nearly double the tackles Wales did. I thought the kicking game didn't help us. I thought we probably didn't stretch them as much as we should have there. The kicking was poor, but you did get to that 70-minute mark and Wales were putting pressure on, but the fact of the matter is, when they did score, it was too little, too late, and that's something that they need to look at. It just comes down to the same thing, isn't it? We're trying to sort of play a riskier game, and that's exposing a lot of things that were weaknesses under Gatland. And Gatland, by playing risk-averse rugby, he hid them. So the fact that we have no attacking line-out, or virtually no attacking line-out, the scrum isn't brilliant, and just all sort of things like that maybe were hidden away in Gatland's game plan and now being exposed by trying to play this sort of riskier rugby.
Of course, man. The referee should have wheeled a yellow card earlier. There was that one sequence where England get 5 penalties away in the same sequence, and he didn't give a yellow card. Let's be honest, but then Wales were still the architects of their own downfall then, because they did opt for a scrum, and you know what happens at the scrum? There's a reset and all that, and they decked up the clock more. Really, they should have tapped and went.
They've done that a lot. They've killed the clock themselves a lot in the Six Nations, and honestly, maybe that's a sign of how well England won today. Their discipline was shocking, and you could argue that Ben O'Keefe should have gone to his pocket a lot sooner. But I don't know what I think the penalty count against Owen Fowler was probably near double figures alone. He was on a mad one today, and right from the off, when Tuilagi dropped the shoulder on Dan Biggar, which I thought was a bit contentious, you could tell that their tackling was going to be borderline, and what they did around the ruck was going to be borderline, and Wales didn't really live up to that.
Yeah, indeed. And obviously, so the red card then, worth mentioning to people at home that Eddie Jones in his post-match press conferences, he's not happy, is he? He's not happy with the red card. He said that Wales, they were playing against 16 men, England. What did you make of those comments?
Absolutely ridiculous. That was you could argue Wales were playing against 16 men earlier in the game. What we just talked about, when it should be a yellow card, but that was a definite red. Tialagi flying through the air, led with his shoulder, and it was fortunate he didn't catch George North, straight it on, if you like, in the head. He only caught him a glancing blow. That was a definite sending off. And this is I don't know what Eddie Jones is moaning about. If he can't see that, he needs to go away and have a look at the rule book.
It's typical of Eddie Jones without sort of getting too into it. Remember the Sexton comments a few years ago when he was making comments about Sexton's future from head injuries, and now he's saying stuff like this. That, at the end of the day, that is as clear a red card as you're going to see. I see people talking about George North dipping being a mitigating factor. It's not. Tuilagi has time, and he's weighed it up. It's dangerous. It's just not safe, and it's so reckless. And then Eddie Jones saying that is even more reckless.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, there was another strange moment with Joe Marler and Alan Wynne-Jones, slightly different circumstances, where he seemed to grab him where you wouldn't want to be grabbed by Joe Marler. What did you make of that?
Yeah, as they call it in Australian rugby, it's known as bag snatching. But it's Joe Marler.
How do you know that?
Because it was because when Leith played Australia back in I think it was the 90s, there was a bag snatching incident during that game. All sorts of accusations being made against Leith. So so that's what it's called. Joe Marler. I see Joe Marler. I think he's a publicity hound. He just loves the publicity. He loves the camera, and he was almost like he's looking at the camera, and he playfully touched Alan Wynne-Jones in a private place. Alan Wynne, he was bemused, wasn't he? His Lions teammate had touched him up.
Yeah, there's plenty of people out there who are not very happy about it. Thinking in 2020 things like that shouldn't go on, and a big bang
I think
should follow.
There's a few things to sort of unpack here. One,
so to speak,
if you do this anywhere else in society, that is not acceptable. And you can that is you can agree on that. Two, I think I've seen a lot of people pulling out the rule book, saying that what he did is wrong, and there honestly is a chance that Marler gets cited for this, and it could be one of those odd scenarios where Marler does something that everyone's finding funny, and then he's hit with a 12-week ban. But look, I've seen the word sexual harassment thrown around, and as I said, in other parts of society that would be wrong. But these two have played on the Lions tours together. It's kidology, isn't it? It's trying to wind up someone who you've played with, and that's all it is.
Yeah, he was trying to wind Alan Wynne up, so he hoped Alan Wynne would punch him, I imagine.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I was just a wind up, wasn't it?
I just looking at some comments coming through from the press conference, actually, where Alan Wynne-Jones has just been speaking. He's been asked about it several times, it would seem, and just hopefully World Rugby will have a look at it. Or he does say Joe Marler is a good bloke. So don't know. We'll see what comes of it all. In terms of positives, then. Nick Tompkins for Wales was excellent, wasn't he, again, the centre? He had a little dodgy game earlier in the tournament, but he's come back strong, and he was the best Wales player probably today, wasn't he?
He's just foot to the throttle, isn't he? There is no half measures with him. You sometimes think, will he just take a second to evaluate? No, he's just hammers forward every time, and the way he set up that try was lovely, wasn't it? It was nice, slick hands, obviously spinning out with the tackle, gives it to Navidi, and then the pass back inside to Thomas. That's the sort of rugby that we wanted to see from Wales in the Six Nations, and it hasn't always clicked. And he's just really settled into Test rugby. I know he had the sort of tough day in Dublin, but he settled into Test rugby probably better than we could have expected. And I think going forward, he's a massive positive.
Yeah, he's perpetual motion, isn't he? He's doing stuff all the time. He's almost like a windmill on it, or whirring. He's just he reminds me a bit of RoboCop, and he's non-stop for a small bloke. He just stuff. Of course, as we've said in the past, he's come from a high level. Mind, he's played for Europe's top club, Saracens, so he clearly knows what he's doing, and he's just so hungry for it, isn't he?
Yeah,
and you can see that jersey actually means so much to him.
Yeah, indeed. In terms of two players who came back into the Wales team after long injuries, Liam Williams and Josh Navidi, probably two different tales there. I thought Navidi was really good, looked like he hadn't been away, played the full game, and Liam was quiet, wasn't he?
Navidi was initially, when I say a little bit rusty, he was caught out of position on the one try a bit, overstretched a bit. But he got better and better as the game went on. What an engine that bloke has got, and what a player! And he was, he played really well in that second half comeback. Liam Williams, bit quiet, didn't get many chances on the ball. Slightly quiet. I wouldn't say he was off the pace, but he was pretty quiet for him. Quiet comeback.
It was interesting, obviously, today, Wales, I noticed the sort of the wings, it wasn't really sort of North on the left or Williams on the right. It was, they were both working basically touchline to touchline to sort of sweep around, and the end result maybe was that Williams didn't see as much of the ball, but then as a result North I thought had one, a really good game. I thought he was really positive. He kept looking for work. He was carrying a lot, and I don't know, maybe that was just a sort of.
I thought he had his best game
byproduct
for a long time. Yeah, he worked really hard, and he ran aggressively. He did really well, actually. I thought I thought he was good today. What they're going to have to look at against Scotland as well. They shift Liam Williams to full back and give young Lewis Reece Azamet a start.
Yeah, well, they do that. We'll see what happens to that. Let's take a couple of quick questions then. John saying, so if Tuilagi is a red card, why not a penalty try, he says?
Because Slade had tackled North and he had his hands on his ankles, he wouldn't have reached the try line.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. Then Paul asks, why are we kicking away possession so much?
No, not only are we kicking it away, but we are kicking badly this championship. We've seemed to have lost our accuracy kicking.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the kicking game in the Six Nations has looked muddled. Halfpenny was putting a lot of distance on kicks and never really kicking to compete. Dan Bigg has struggled today, which is understandable because he's coming off that knee injury, and I think a lot of the time he took the ball, he didn't really have time to kick to compete because England were targeting him. Scrum halves box kicking has always been a slight issue. Like, look at Ben Youngs today. Most of them were inch perfect. It's just, I got no problem with Wales kicking today because at the end, England's line speed in defence was brilliant, and they are so physical. So you have to find a way to go forward, and usually kicking is that. If you kick to compete and the chase is good, but today the kicks weren't good enough, the chase wasn't good enough, and then England largely got on top in that area of the game.
Yeah, clearly Wales have got a problem at scrum half.
Yeah, what is the problem at scrum half? I know you've spoken to Barry John, haven't you, after the game for his column tomorrow. It's one area he's flagged up. Thomas Williams, again, he was involved in that try, but not great, particularly for the first England try. Obviously, Rhys Webb came on. What did we make of Rhys Webb?
Looked
conflict of opinions, maybe.
Yeah, he looked a bit slow around the base of the ruck, and I think that was summed up by the one where he got caught at the base of a ruck, and then he's just thrown the pass blindly anyway, and George Cruz just picked it off. And I saw a lot of Welsh fans claiming that George Cruz was offside, and he wasn't. He had enough time to pretty much walk into that gap. But he did some nice things towards the end. He obviously set up Tiprick's try. That's sort of with an asterisk that Owen Farrell and Henry Slade aren't exactly going to win tackle of the year for their efforts on that one. But it is a strange one, isn't it? No real scrum half has nailed the jersey down.
I'm disappointed, like Barry John, that Thomas Williams hasn't taken his chance and hasn't kicked on, and Gareth Davis. They both had really good World Cups, and they play nowhere near that standard at the minute in this championship. I disagree with Ben about Webb. I thought Webb, it took him a bit of time to find the rhythm of the game. It's very difficult coming on as a scrum half, key position, and getting that rhythm and speed and all. So a couple of his, when Hadley Parkes was trying to run flat on the ball, the timings were wrong. But Webb, I thought, got better and better as that game went on, and he was a catalyst into some respects into Wales coming back into that game. I thought him and Bigger, old pals, ex-Ospreys players, worked really well together. And I thought Webb, as the clock was ticking, he was just improving, and I thought he did. He made Wales a lot more solid there at scrum half, and he brought some rhythm to the game as he got into it. So against Scotland next week, they're in a situation now they got to win that game. I would have to start with Webb because the other scrum halves are not on form.
Briefly to finish from you then, Ben, are you worried about Scotland next week? They can't afford to lose that.
They can't afford to lose, and to me, this Six Nations reminds me a bit of 2018, when Gatland tried to play the Scarlets' way, and we saw sort of mixed results then. We thrashed Scotland on the opening weekend. Twickenham, we got beaten up front for 60 minutes and then had a nice little renaissance in the last 20.
It was only 12-6 up there, man, because the Welsh defence was much better a couple of years ago.
True, but we seem to be going through that same cycle, and Gatland came through that cycle and realised that this Wales team couldn't play that way, and so he made tweaks and then went on a 14-15 game winning streak. A few injuries sort of made them go back to Warren Ball for the World Cup, and now we're sort of back 2 years ago, new coach who wants to lean even further into that, and it's can these players do this game plan? Scotland next week, it could be one of those where we put 30 points on them.
Yeah, but
just because of this, it's such a risk risky game that, you know, if it clicks and the game breaks up, which it could well do against Scotland, because
let's see how Scotland get on against France tomorrow first, because if Scotland win that game, they're going to come here and with their tails up and potentially could be chasing him second in championship.
Yeah.
So, you know, Scotland will be dangerous. Could be, you know, that game next week, if Wales throw the ball and all about, that's going to make it been like a 40 points to 30 game, because Scotland feed off mistakes.
Yeah.
They're good at that sort of thing. So, I'm not worried about the Scotland game. Wales should beat them, but, you know, it's not a game you can say is a gimme for sure. The other thing with Wales, I think it'd be remiss not to mention the fact that Wales got so many injuries, so many guys missing, that, you know, for the style of play Pivot wants to play going forward, and all some of those guys are going to be vital to that.
Okay, we'll leave the rugby there. And just to finish, Andy, we should obviously mention Matthew J Watkins, the terribly sad news this morning that he passed away overnight after a 7-year battle with cancer. A fine player, a fine man who you knew. Yeah,
he's a great bloke, Matthew. You know, I've known him since he was a teenager, just from up the road from me. The bloke, even to the end, you know, he always had a smile on his face. Real positive guy, smashing bloke to deal with. You know, big family man, and heck of a rugby player as well. Lovely centre, runner with a ball. You know, he could carve a defence open. And you know, he played for Wales centre 205 when they beat Australia. It's the first time they beat Australia since 1987. Matthew played in that game, and you know, I feel so sorry for what's happened to him, and you know, he shows such remarkable spirit and positivity during his fight, and you can see what he means to the rugby world by the reaction out there.
Yeah, indeed, puts it all into perspective.
Well, it certainly does, doesn't it? You know, we're talking about Wales defeat. No, yeah, they lost, but you know, there's more important things in life. Yeah, indeed. And needless to say, our thoughts are with Matthew's family on this sad day. That's it from us. We'll be back on Monday around lunchtime. We'll see you then. Take care.